seven simplest ways to be effective for a male, seven simplest ways to be effective as a woman. So it's a very good book, a series by author that he's very known in how to be effective in our time management. We're going to continue, and now we have Abuna with us. From last week, guys, remember what was last week? Topic? Huh?
Emotional health.
Emotional health, spirituality, right?
I forgot that part.
Say it louder. Guess we get to talk.
Well, while they work with the AC, I know it's outside it's like 100 degrees, but we can try to bear for a little bit. لا مش يعني اشتغل يعني شغل then down then turn up to 100 degrees يعني. So Abul is gonna come and I'm just gonna start it off. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so let's just for the time's sake. Last week we gave an introduction of what is spiritual emotional healthy spirituality and how important this and how sometimes we ignore it. Right? This week we said we're gonna speak about the 10 symptoms what makes us unhealthy emotionally. And these 10 symptoms is common, but it's very important, like the author said, in order for us to recognize how to move forward and have a healthy spiritual life emotionally, first we need to know the symptoms and we can move forward. So, and we can one with us. So, the 10 symptoms likely that unhealthy spirituality. So here are the 10 of them. We're not going to go to 10 for the time's sake. We might see how the time goes, but let's see how far we go. The first one, using God to run from God. It's the most common one. Using God among servants. Use God to run from God. We can see what it means. Ignoring the emotions of anger, sadness, and fear. Dying to the wrong things. Denying the past impact on the present. Dividing our lives into secular and sacred compartments, which is very common. Doing for God instead of being with God. Spiritualizing away conflict. Covering our brokenness, weakness, and failure. Living without limit, judging other people's spiritual journey. So, using God to run from God is basically, it's a story for a lot of us. We have so many activities. We get, like we talked about last week, we get so busy, but we don't have time for ourselves. We get so involved in a lot of stuff, in service, in church, and it is common with servants. And we don't look out in our spiritual life and our inner being. So sometimes you might see people, and I fell into that trap when I was making myself busy with everything else. And I wasn't looking at myself, seeing, I was busy with so many things, not focusing on my prayer life, not focusing on what's really hitting things. I might be angry, I might have low patience, but I'm just keeping myself busy with everything else. And that's what he's talking about, using God to run from God. We keep ourselves busy with the church, but not really getting close to God. We create God activity in difficult areas in our lives that God wants to change. Like I said last week, emotions, anger, okay, patience, all the stuff that we might be struggling with and we ignore. When I do God's work to satisfy me, not Him. A lot of us do that. A lot of times come into service to do God's service, just to be cool with my friends, to hang out with them, not to satisfy anyone, not God, not for God, but just to satisfy myself. To say that I'm doing something good.
Mina can you just remind you guys about the diagram of the iceberg?
Oh, yes.
You remember?
Mm-hmm.
What was it about? Do you remember?
10%.
Exactly, 10%, but there's 90% down there that is completely hidden, untouched. And this is what the writer was saying, or the pastor. He was a pastor of a church. He said that these are the things that we're not willing to open, like opening a new can of worm, or letting God fix these things. But whatever is outside the shelf, this is what appears to people, and this is basically a fake picture. But these things hurt us completely emotionally, which completely affect us spiritually. So whatever affects us emotionally affects us spiritually. And there was another diagram that he said that human being, it's consists of 5 things. You remember of those 5 things? What are they?
Spiritual,
Spiritual. What else?
physical, emotional,
Physical. Emotional,
social,
intellectual, and social. Any part of this circle which is will affect us spiritually. So basically, here he's trying to mention something very, very important, that there are 10 symptoms of what categorize us to be emotionally unhealthy spiritually. So the first one Mina was talking about was using God to run away from God, to draw a fake picture, or it doesn't have to be intentionally that we are trying to create a fake picture about ourselves, but it comes that way. This is one of the things that we tend to hide and not touch. Okay, go ahead, Amina. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, everyone. And like everyone said, when I do things in His name, He never asks me to do. Sometimes we get into different things in church and service, and just because we think God asks us to, but we should go on our own. We get involved in so many things that God never asks us to do, and we don't ask for our spiritual Father to do certain things. And that's why it's very important. Do I always have a spiritual guidance in your service? Hey, Abuna, I think I might be doing this. You think I can handle or not? What do you think? And your father of confession, your spiritual father, should know you very well and knows what you can handle. When I demonstrate Christian behavior, so significant people think well of me. Sometimes we act nice in front of people, and on the outside action, other people doesn't think anything else of me. And we put on an image. When I focus on theological points, everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. That's 1 Corinthians. There are more about my own fear and unresolved issues that concern for God's truth. Now, at this point, when I focus on theological issues, I spoke about this before. Wisdom is very important when we speak about certain things. Sometimes people use theological points just to portray certain things, and that's not the right way. And then inside there's other stuff that might be heard, that might be impatient, but you have to be wise when we speak about certain things. And I know I've seen on social media with the whole Protestant thing, I think that needs to be wisdom in how you speak about it, okay, and how to approach it. When I use His truth to judge and devalue others, sometimes we fall in this trap. Sometimes we think we use God's words to judge other people and devalue other people as well. Oh, this person, look what they're doing. And the Bible says you have to do this. And of course, in Romans tells you should not judge any other servant. You should look at your own self. In the book of Romans tells you each person look at their own self, do not look at the other person. And St. Paul said that. When I exaggerate my accomplishment for God to subtly compete with others, sometimes we exaggerate. Sometimes we want to show off. And it's just because you fall in the state of competition. This is very common in our Egyptian, our community. Because we all grow up together, we all have a sense of competition. So sometimes we feel a sense to exaggerate, to compete. And we need to be careful with this. When I pronounce the Lord told me I should do this, when in truth I think the Lord told me this. We don't know what God said, but we just go without the spiritual guidance, without Abuna guiding me, telling me what to do. And say, oh yeah, I think God telling me this. When I use the scripture to justify sinful parts of my family, culture, or nation, self, evaluate them under His Lordship. Sometimes we say, there's certain parts of your family is wrong, and you use God to justify these wrong things. But instead of actually understanding and finding love in that relationship and how to fix things. We give excuses and we judge our parents. You know, for some they might be doing wrong things, which is nobody's perfect. But it doesn't give you the right just because you might be going to church a lot more and they're not going, for you to use the scripture on them. And this is not right. When I hide behind God talk, deflecting any spotlight on my inner cracks and becoming defensive about my failures. It's very common. A lot of people become very defensive when someone point out their failures. You know, and they always hide behind when they talk, and they become very prideful in a sense. And a wise person is supposed to listen. In the book of Proverbs said a wise person is supposed to be able to get scorned. You know, but a fool, you know, like talks back. So sometimes we fall in that trap. When I apply biblical tools selectively when it suits my purpose, but avoid situations that require me to make significant life changes. This is very common. Sometimes we apply biblical, but the things that we need to do, we do not do. Second point is ignoring the emotions of anger, sadness, and fear. And this is common a lot with us. Many of us Christians believe wholeheartedly that anger, sadness, and fear are sins to be avoided, indicating something is wrong with our spiritual life. Anger is dangerous and unloving towards others. We know this. Sadness indicates a lack of faith in the promise of God. Depression surely reveals a life outside the will of God. And fear, the Bible is filled with commands not to be anxious. So sometimes we inflate ourselves with false confidence to make those feelings go away. We don't confront them. Sometimes we put certain things and you know you're struggling. But again, someone comes and tells you, you know what, I'm struggling with something, do a little open your mind, you know, I know, have faith. But you inside don't have that. Sometimes we inflate ourselves and then we try to be something that we're not, and we might be lacking these things. You know, having anger, sadness, and fear. Anger is you don't have any love. When you have anger, when you have so much hatred inside of you, that means you have no love. If you have sadness, it shows you that you have depression and there's something lacking. Fear is no faith. If you have fear and you're not always anxious, that it shows that you have lack of faith. So he said, try to keep yourself overwhelmed. It's more common however to encounter Christians who do not believe that they have permission to admit their feelings. How many of us saw people who are not Christians are very open when they're sad or anger and express their emotions? But the people inside the church don't express their emotions. No, go ahead. Sure. Oh. Good.
I had a quick question about the previous slide about depression and sadness.
Yeah.
So, does the church believe that it's possible, not scientifically, but does it believe that depression can also stem from like the brain itself? Like, or is it just more of?
There is types of depression. You know,
This is like a different.
each one of us now, even myself, at some point we're depressed. But you know, clinical depression is different than regular depression. Clinical depression is affecting or altering your way of life. So everything, you wake up depressed, you sleep depressed, you walk depressed, you talk to your friends depressed. This is called clinical depression and needs intervention. It needs counseling. If it doesn't work with counseling, it needs medication. You know what I'm talking about? Because part of it is hormonal. Part of it is like sensors in the brain, and it doesn't. It's not fixable. It's fixable with medication or therapy. But usually, like, we go into depression. You know, the meaning of this ignoring our emotions and anger and sadness and fear. You know, sometimes it's a taboo to be angry. It's a taboo to be fearful. I mean, you know. So this is what he's saying, that these, you know, these feelings makes you as a human being. You are a human being. Sometimes we take this part. We just want ourselves to be only spiritual beings. We're still not spiritual beings. We are growing in our spirituality, but we are still in our human body. And this human body is under sin, it's under weakness. So you still get angry, you still get mad and sad, and you still have fear. But these things, it fades down by increasing your spirituality. By increasing your spirituality. You understand? So it's like he's trying to say that do not ignore your fears. Do not say, how come I am a Christian person, a Christian girl, or a deacon, or a priest, or a pope, or whatever, and I feel afraid. No, you're still a human being. Do not ignore your feelings. Okay? But you enhance your feeling. There's a big difference. That to shove it underneath the rug, or proclaim it and work on it. This is what he's trying to basically say. And I believe the second slide exactly shows it. Okay, can you read it, Amina?
It's more common, however, to encounter Christians who do not believe that they have permission to admit their feelings, express them openly. This applies especially to the more difficult feelings of fear, sadness, shame, anger, hurt, and pain. To feel is to be human. To minimize or deny what we feel is distortion of what it means to be an image bearer of our personal God. So it's human for us to have feelings. It's normal to have sadness and fear. But like what I'm saying is when we ignore it, it's an issue.
To minimize it, to minimize is to deny that we feel, is a distortion of what it means to be image bearer of our personal God. God created us with emotions, but because of sin, these emotions has completely been distorted. But in order to hide it and ignore it, it dehumanizes more. This is what he's trying to reach here.
Anger, and who's not angered? As an example, say, why you anger about feelings? So this person lied to you, cheated on you. God is on the throne, Jesus was lied and cheated, so stop anger. Do we place faith? This is a train, by the way. In God's word, or follow feelings and flesh inclination, and the end of the train was the caboose, what is trusted, the least feelings. So feelings needs to be first, and then have faith, then we know the facts about God. So you check your feelings first, and then know that it's faith and promises of God, that God will overcome this. Then we know the facts about God, the facts of promises that God told us that we will have. Okay? And this is how you check this emotion. But if we have this, yes, me.
So shouldn't the fact be in the back?
Yeah, it's feelings first or last?
No, feelings is the last of the train.
Okay.
Your facts is what you end of it. So if it starts off with feelings, and what really should drive you is the fact about God's promises that will heal us. So if you have feelings that's hurting you, okay, feelings of sadness, anger, we should be able to know how to check it emotionally. Check it emotionally by having faith that God will get us through this wall, and by having facts in God's biblical promises. And this is very important for us to know this kind of step process. They say if I have, like Abuna says, a lot of times we ignore. People who are not Christian really speak about their feelings openly. If you speak to a lot of people outside, like, yeah, I'm angry, and this is bothering me, there's sadness. Sometimes we inside the church don't like to talk about our feelings, and sometimes we ignore it. And it's very important, I figure, with the Father Confession, we are open with this, with our Father Confession, so He can be able to take us through these steps, so He can be able to diagnose us and help us heal. Dying to the wrong things. This is the third part, the third unhealthy emotion. The glory of God is a human being fully alive. Jesus did say, if anyone wants to come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. We mistaken this verse by we're not called by God to die to the good parts of who we are. God never asked us to die to the healthy desires and pleasures of life, to friendship, joy, art, music, beauty, or creation, laughter, nature. God never told us be Nicodemus. Okay, God, Christianity doesn't mean to be have a sad face and and then you must pump your chest everywhere you go. Lord have mercy on me.
Translation. نكديين. نكديين يعني نكد يعني رخم يعني.
And always
Frown face.
yeah.
Always frowning like
Oh,
كده
okay.
نكد يعني.
Okay, now I got it.
وش كده يعني كده زي شكل الجزمة.
So sometimes we think that's what God said, take up a cross and forget about the time. No, God didn't tell us to die to the wrong things. God plants the desire in our hearts so we will nurture and water them. Often these desires, passions are invitation from God, gifts from Him, yet somehow we feel guilty and wrapping into His presence. Sometimes we have these emotions, healthy parts of us, and then we bury it down. And it's not a good way to do this. What? It's okay. I don't need to do this. I don't need to have fun. No, God told you to have fun, but be wise in how we do things. Wisdom is a very important key to having a healthy emotional lifestyle. If you're gonna do things, and then anytime you do a service out of, I can't believe I'm doing this, but God said, deny your cross and follow me. No, service is supposed to be because you're loving God. It's supposed to be enjoy, like you wanna do it. You're not forced to do it, because if you're forced to do it and you make yourself, it's okay, I'm not supposed to take care and have fun, I'm gonna cancel my fun. Taban, it's not consistent basis, but at the same time, it's boundaries. There's there's limits. I will do certain things, okay? At the same time, I want to do the service for my own sake. Not because someone forced me to do it, and then I'm like, he asked me to do it, and then I have to do it. No, you don't have to do it. Either you're doing it because of the love and you want to do it, or to not do it. You have to understand there are certain limitations, and sometimes we do get lazy, and sometimes we want to hang out all the time. And this is when the other extreme. But again, God did not say do not have fun, do not enjoy your time, but at the same time, serve God with heart. And that's what He said, dying to the wrong things. That's a very important part. God intends our deeper true self, which He created, to blossom freely as we follow. That's how we're supposed to grow as people. As we grow and mature spiritually, we're supposed to follow this.
What do you think about this verse, by the way? I just want to ask you a question. What do you think about this verse?
If anyone will come after me,
must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. What do you think about this? Is it very optimistic or pessimistic? Pessimistic?
Yeah.
You think so? What do you think? Why it's optimistic and why it's pessimistic? Okay. Mary, عشان ماري رفعت ايديها وبعدين نزلنا تاني.
I didn't raise my hand.
You didn't raise كنت بتهرشي ولا ايه؟ Okay. Say something.
No comment.
Please. Okay. Well,
I agree with what Mina said, but I think that we also have to mention that the whole take up his cross and follow me means that yes, we can enjoy all of that, but that comes after God, so we do have to neglect that when it's time to follow Him. So yeah, enjoy the good parts of life, but we also have to realize that these good parts aren't supposed to be completely significant. It should be something that you can give up easily if God tells you these need to end or whatever, or come follow me.
okay. All right. So it's okay. ماشي.
I want to just go along with that and say it's optimistic, and it's separated into two separate parts of our nature. There's the human nature and our spiritual nature. So He's telling us to deny our human selves and take up His cross daily and follow Him, so we can go.
Why do we have to deny our human self?
Because that's all the carnal stuff. That's what leads us to sin in the first place. We should
But
be following.
this, by the way, it's agnostic. By the way, you know what does it mean?
It's not agnostic.
It is agnostic, of course. What do you think? Is it agnostic or?
I guess leaving the church.
Huh?
Basically,
I want to respond to her. So we're not centered by what he's saying. We're not centered around God. If our human nature if our human nature is conflicting with God. So I think both of them has to be aligned. That's what I think.
Okay, both of them has to be aligned. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think in the end, it's just like, I feel like it's optimistic because it's not about like denying anything like specifically. It's more about just leaving it up to God, whether it's based on your human nature or your spiritual self. It just sparked the idea. It's like, I know God is with me, so I'm gonna leave it up to Him, and I'm gonna be able to enjoy my nature, my natural human nature, and still be able to try and get closer to Him just by knowing that He's there with me. So it's not really, it's not trying to conflict. It's just the idea that like, as long as you know that I'm here, you don't, it's not necessarily like denying like you're pushing something away like with the cross, but it's more like just knowing where your place is.
All right. What else?
So I take it as you're saying, don't be comfortable, but rather push yourself and struggle. So you're saying that's your cross, your cross is whatever you're struggling with. So denying yourself would be, let's say, if you're at a stage where you're comfortable and you're like, okay, I'm struggling with a certain thing. Let's say service. If you have a class that's very difficult, you say, denying yourself basically says that it doesn't matter that I'm uncomfortable in this class. I'm still going to continue, and I'm going to struggle, but I'm going to continue with it. So in that sense, it's pessimistic.
Okay. All right. What else? Any other comments?
I think the cross can make you experience God more obviously. So it's optimistic because you experience God in a difficult situation more than a non-difficult situation or a normal life. So experiencing God is very optimistic.
Okay. Very okay.
I feel like denying yourself is like the true love, like the sign of love. For anything, if you give up something, then you're showing love in that in that sense. And also taking up your cross. It's not like any of the apostles after Christ is resurrected had like an easy time. So at the end of the day, they all got murdered. They all got martyred, and so it's like taking up your cross. It's like you're taking up your challenge, and you're denying yourself, and you're doing that task for that specific purpose.
Okay. When we will resurrect, are we gonna resurrect with the spiritual? I mean, with spirits, or spiritual bodies? Spiritual bodies. Your body will resurrect. Nothing is wrong about the flesh. Nothing is wrong about the body. It's the intentions of the flesh. It's the intentions of the flesh. You remember when we get baptized, okay, we become a new creation. He's going to talk about it soon. We become a new creation, okay, in Christ Himself. That does not mean we're still fighting or we're still fighting against the desires of the body. Sometimes we lose hope in ourselves. We're like, I just want to die. I just want to get rid of my body. There's nothing wrong with your body. The problem is our intentions and our focus. This is the problem. But nothing is wrong about your body because Christ took your body. And He wants you to enjoy. He wants you to do everything. He wants you to get married. He wants you to be a successful person. There's nothing wrong to live with Christ. But the problem is, it says here, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself. Deny himself what? Deny his passions. Passions that runs after sin. Lustful sins. Stealing. Murdering. Angers that causes untreated anger that can lead us to murder. Untreated feelings that can lead us to sin. Untreated wrong loves that lead us to lust and committing fornications and wrongdoings. These what Christ is trying to tell each one of us. You will have a fight between yourself and the will of God. Because you have your own will that wants to go after your flesh or after your lust or after sin. This is the old nature. and the new nature is trying to do what? Try to make us follow Christ, the will of Christ. That's why he said, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself. Deny the sin. Run away from sin. This is by itself is a cross. Is bearing a cross. Why? Because I am trying to go out of my way. Some people sacrifice their lives to the true meaning of cross, as Abu Hope said, for the love of others. It's optimistic. But God, in the meantime, He wants us. Sometimes we translate it wrong. Do I have to go after Christ? I have to carry my cross. What does that mean? I have to be persecuted. I have to leave my everything good that I'm doing, and then just follow Christ. That is gonna do what? That's gonna make me miserable. If I am a rich man, I have to leave everything. No, God does not ask you. He's not asking you to leave your money, but the way you are spending your money. Complete different things. You understand what I'm saying?
Denying the past impact on the present. So now we're going to the fifth point. Now when we come to Christ, our sins are wiped away and we are given a new name, new identity, new future, new life. It's like a new miracle. But in order for us to move forward, we have to work in our past. We can never, God, when He told you, when you read that practice, obviously in a Protestant way, He's talking about when people get reborn again. But the same thing with us. Even when we baptize and our old person gets died, and when we go into repentance, we cannot say, you know what, I repented, I ignore the past. In order for you to move forward, you must retreat. When we retreat, you need to sit down with yourself and discuss these emotions, what led you to this, in order for you to move forward. You cannot say, you know what, I'm going to go one day and just give up that sin. It just doesn't work like that. You can't say, you know what, if you have porn addiction, one time keep praying, and it's going to stop. You have to understand and sit with yourself and see what's causing you to have this. You might need to go backwards and understand what led you to this situation and meditate on it, and then you can move forward. It actually means that we go back in order to break free from unhealthy, destructive habits that might prevent us from loving ourselves and others. By the way, when we do certain things, we ignore ourselves. When we don't go back and check ourselves, okay, we will never be able to move forward. You might have certain sins in your life that the root is pride, that the root could be envy. The root could be impatience. It's also no self-control. And sometimes we fall into some of these addictions because we don't have self-control. But we need to understand this, and we try to move forward all the time without understanding these feelings. Dividing our life into secular and sacred compartments. We mostly, guys, live in the compartments in their heads, right? I always heard that the guys have a nothing box, and then, guys sometimes have this box. Guys function in boxes, of course, women all over the place, spaghetti. But this is how God created them. They're able to connect multiple things, they're multitasking. But human beings have uncanny ability to live in compartmentable lives. We could attend church, sing about God's love. We could sit here and then say kumbaya and we all love each other, okay? But you go outside, you want to murder the next person, you can see him on the road. We fall into this kind of double life. In a secular life, we say, oh, God is this time, and then my school is this time. A lot of times we find this like Judas, there's guys doing songs. Have you ever seen these people that go through songs with emotions and everything طلع بعد كده other than that she's going partying, and then having her not saying have time of her life, but then doing all their own things. It's easy to compartmentalize God, to question activities in our church and our spiritual discipline without thinking of Him in our marriage, the discipline for our children, spending for our money, our recreation, even our study exam. If we don't know how to involve God in all our aspects of our life, and we make it different compartments, we will go older. I know some of you guys are young, but as we get older, as you get married, and you get busy with life, and if you don't know how to involve God in your relationship, in your work, or any of your activities, it will become different aspects of your life. You know, work is work, church is church. I need to make my money, I make them happy. When I come to God, I come to church, I pray. That's it. And this is very dangerous because this will affect you as a human being. Right? And that leads to different emotions that you can unchecked happen. And if we don't know how to make both things come together and then combine them together, we can have issues later on. And this is one of the things that leads you to have an unhealthy emotion. It's one of the biggest things, I think. Because if you go about your school and you feel like you don't need to involve God in your school, that's something else. I think I heard Ember Musa, the bishop of the youth, he was a doctor before he became a bishop. He had like a study guide, how to study during exams. Because he was just, and doctors, they study like 24 hours or whatever they study, But they study so much. But it's not the right way, okay? But he developed something good to study, pattern. He says study and take 15-minute breaks. Pray, and in 15 minutes and continue studying again. So you study 2 hours, you take 15 minutes break to pray, and you go back again to praying. Sometimes we get so indulged into studying and we depend on ourselves, we don't involve God. We don't ask for God to open our minds and help us understand the material. Maybe if we have prayed to God, He could open our minds to understand the material. Maybe if we take a time out and pray before we study, God will help us understand this. Again, we don't involve in spending our money. Spending our money is very important. That's how we become very cheap sometimes. And then sometimes spending money unwise or holding on to money to our dear lives. There's two extremes. Because God is not involved in that decision making.
That's why I have to give money at the end of the day.
Church members divorce their spouses often as secular neighbors. Now you know the divorce rate went so high in church, right? Used to be the Catholic and the Protestant. Now divorce rate is happening a lot, like the secular people. Why? God is not involved in relationships anymore. You don't sit down. If you have an issue, you and your partner, you don't sit down with a Abuna. You don't come down, there's no spiritual advisor. And that's why divorce rate, and even Abuna will tell you, the divorce rate went up really high even in our church. Alright? Church members beat their wives over their neighbors. This happens. Unfortunately, this happened. Domestic abuse happened in our church. Yes, he's talking about his own American church, but it happens a lot also in the Coptic church. Church members given patterns and begin they almost materialistic as non-Christians. How many of us, let's be honest with ourselves, how many of us have become so materialistic, we act like, okay, yeah, I could be a Christian, but I also want a $6 million house with the, and I fall into the same victim, but we fall and become too materialistic. I want the Maserati lifestyle, I want, the 7-bedroom house. We fall into this aspect. And unfortunately, we don't realize this. And then somehow we become too materialistic, just like other people. There's no difference between us and the secular people. White and so by white friends are most likely to object to neighbors of another race. I always think Egyptians are very close to be racist. It's it's like if you have like someone I guess we give them, our parents react a certain way. So sometimes I go to church and act very loving. As soon as someone comes with a different thing, I gotta lay pen Bishum Salib. We have to understand that secular life and the church, it doesn't separate. Our higher commitment in evangelical 26% think premarital sex is acceptable. That's evangelical Protestant church. 46% of lower commitment in evangelical believe it's okay. I think now in our church, relationships, you think it's kissing, spiritually, it's okay. It starts with this it starts with this concept. You know what? Yes, they go to sex is okay. We're not gonna say that church taking sex is okay. But we have come, let's be honest with ourselves, we have come to accept that kissing is okay. And kissing in dating is not gonna lead to anything else. And Abuna, I think as
I think premarital sex. I think thoughts about premarital sex are increasing in our church. By the way, I'm not talking about our Saint George Brooklyn. I'm talking about the Coptic or the Coptic Christian mentality now. It's premarital sex is something very now it's something very open, and this is becoming very dangerous. Because let me tell you something: the youth of the church is the future of the church, and the future of the church is thinking that way. I think the future of the church is heading down. It's heading completely down. I think we need to go back not to our roots, but our Christian roots, our beliefs. But this is the most important part at this point. And it's alarming. It's really alarming, and it's very. Maybe it's not. You have met people who thinks about premarital sex is very something is it's okay. It's okay, but this is something very alarming, and we have to pay attention to it. Pay attention to it.
So secular and your spiritual life should not be I can never say that word, but anyway, in the compartments. So we have to we have to watch out for that. Doing for God instead of being with God. Doing a lot of work for God is a sure sign of growing spirituality. He's being sarcastic. Okay? And sometimes we get so much, since I have to point out, it's all up to you, and you will never finish when you're alive on earth. God cannot move unless you pray. We have that kind of sense. You're responsible to share Christ around you at all times, or people will go to hell. Sometimes some servants feel like if it's not for them, people are gonna perish. Things will fall apart if you don't preserve and hold things together. Buna said, if the service is dependent on you, it's a failed service. Okay? If you feel like if you leave and the service will fall, then you are failed as a servant. The church will go on with you or without you. That's how God preserved the church from the beginning. But we feel that way sometimes. Doing for good instead of being with God. He's saying, are all these things wrong? No, they're not wrong. But sometimes we get too much indulged in it. If God is not nourished by deep interior life, with God will eventually be contaminated by other things. Like what? Ego, power, needing approval of or from others, or buying into their own idea of success, or mistaken belief that we cannot fail. That will happen. You, a servant, that feel like, nothing can happen without me, you can go ego. Ego, you have more power, you want more power. Sometimes we see this in our church. People that become too much powerful, and then they believe this, I need to do this, and that, because without me, things will fail. And this is what you're doing for God, not with God. You're not going internally as a person. And we have to watch out this emotionally, because you will become prideful as a person, and you cannot move as a person, as a spiritual person. And this is one of the symptoms that will keep you from having a healthy emotional lifestyle. Spiritualizing away conflict. Spiritualizing away conflict. Adiha. Something to happen, it's okay, adiha. No, it's not okay, adiha. Okay, it's okay to speak about your feelings. Okay, it's okay if something bothers you, and that's why he said, this season, church, small groups, ministry teams experience the pain of unresolved conflicts. They don't know how to resolve conflicts. Sometimes, you be the bigger person, adiha. No, it's okay to resolve. It's okay to understand something. Me and you are sisters and brothers in service. But it's very important to know how to resolve a conflict. It's okay, to have a third person as a party to witness between you guys. And I know it's very important to have a Abuna involved in a conflict. Don't say, you know what, it's okay, I'll deal. No. What you're doing, you're hiding things under the rug. You're hiding things that's really bothering you. And instead of you, تعمل كده في الدين and that repeat and smile, and you really want to punch him in the face. And this happens. In serving, you're trying like, oh, you're supposed to show love. But we don't speak about it. You don't say how you're supposed to feel. And as a Christian person, and what I'm saying is, an emotional and social person, you have to speak how you feel. If something bothers you, it's okay to speak to that servant. If that servant doesn't agree, if me and George are arguing about something, and then we're conflicting, it's okay to involve Abuna in our conflict as a third person to resolve our conflict. The steps to resolving conflict, we don't take this initiative. And that's why a lot of services sometimes fail. Because we let things go, there's anger inside, there is hurt, and then we should move forward. And then eventually you can explode. Say one thing to the person's face and then another thing behind their backs. It's very often. You're already man'ud and that person in front of you, you don't want to say anything, you just want to let go, but behind their back you speak. This happens a lot. Make promises we have no intentions to keep. Yes, I will do this, I will do that, but he's asking, that servant asking for many things, you cannot do it, so you make, okay, I'll keep this. No, it's okay to say no, I cannot do it. The blame game, or you attack another person. Give people the silent treatment, and this happened recently. Someone don't talk, amen. It's okay. That's how I deal with it. No, that's not okay. It's okay to speak. We have to learn as a church, as a servants, and people that are under God, to be able to speak with how we feel and express our emotions to someone else. If that person doesn't take it, that's up to them. But at least you express your emotions. The next thing you can do, if that person doesn't want to speak, we involve a third person like Abuna in that situation. And it's very important for us to move in a healthy way. Because if you don't do this, and you give a silent treatment, some people are very sarcastic. Okay, have you noticed? This is a defense mechanism. They become very sarcastic in their comments. That's because that means they don't like someone, one person is annoying them, so they become sarcastic. Okay? Give in because we're afraid of not being liked. We do that sometimes. We give in into something because we're afraid that other people might not accept us or might not like us. Leak our anger by sending an email containing not subtle criticism. I've seen this in Koipel even when I was involved. People are not agreeing with each other, so they're gonna have some kind of criticism in the email. Not show anger, but in a loving way. Back in the end, write a verse. And God said, love all. After the man rocked him with the 500 steps. Tell only half the truth because we came there to hurt friends' feelings. This is happening. Actually, I was speaking to Puna about it. Sometimes I don't know what to say things, but I'm afraid to hurt the person's feelings. In reality, I'm hurting myself because I'm getting angry. And then I'm holding inside, and I'm not expressing it. And it's very important. Actually, Abuna was telling me that I need to be truthful with that friend, even though I'm not really honest with it. But I need to tell him how I feel, because it would help him and it will help me as well. Saying yes when we mean no. The one.
Engage a third party.
Jesus shows us that healthy Christians do not avoid conflicts. Healthy Christians do not avoid conflicts. It's okay for us to speak about it and talk when we have issues. Covering our brokenness, weakness, and failure.
You sure? You guys wanna continue this one? انت بتتكلمش خالص.
What number is it?
Guys, we're recording.
Let's do more points. Let's go to 2 more points and end it within 5 minutes. Okay? living without limits, I was taught that good Christian constantly give and tend to others. I wasn't supposed to say no to opportunities, to request for help, but because that would be selfish. Some Christians think that we are selfish in a way that we believe in God and Jesus Christ, so we have to live their life as God does not exist. What does that mean? But we don't have limits in how we do things. There are limitations to what you do and a limitation how much you can love. Basically boundaries. It's very important. If you don't set boundaries for yourself, you're not going to have a healthy relationship, healthy emotions spiritually. It's very important. If you live your life without limits, you will never be able to go healthy spiritually. Because things will bother you. If you don't have put boundaries with yourself and you don't have a gate around how you're supposed to feel, you will not be able to go as a person. This is a very important concept. You must have limits to your life. You must be able to set boundaries. If you don't set boundaries for yourself and your emotions, you won't be able to go as a person. Judging others' spiritual journey. This is the last point. Of course, a lot of times we go through certain things, we go in the spiritual life, and we feel like we have to wait to tell people how they should live their lives. And it's very important, very dangerous, that we don't sit there on our high chairs and we feel like the need to tell this person's living a wrong life and that person's not living the right life. This is not our business. We are not in the business of passing judgment. If you're occupied with your own faults, you have no time to see those of your faith, of your neighbors. This is a Protestant person quoting at Church Desert Founder. If you are occupied with your own faults, you will have no time to see those of your neighbor. If you're sitting there and seeing faults of other people, then you're not seeing yourself. And then he talks about taking out the speck out of your eye before you take the speck out of your brother's eye. This is very important. Sometimes we think we become very highly spiritual, that we see everybody's faults on ours. And we need to recognize this. So, this is the end. The pathway to unleashing transformative power of Jesus to heal our spiritual lives can be found in joining of emotional health and contemplative spirituality. In order for us, and I just want to go back to this slide here. In order for us to move healthy, we have to be able to diagnose these 10 symptoms. And we have to focus on them. Okay? And then we have to speak about it in order to move on to the journey. I think Abuna next week will cover, how to move on into having an emotional healthy spiritual life. First, we need to know what are the symptoms of having an unhealthy emotions in order for us to be able to give the right diagnosis. So 3 minutes to 10. Any comments or anything? Nothing? Okay. Is there any announcements?
Yeah. So this topic is emotionally healthy and spiritually. So at the end of this, we're going to do some activity that we can incorporate that idea. So if you guys have any ideas of how we can incorporate an idea of this theme we have for these next couple of weeks or this series, you can come to us and tell us, and we're open to a bunch of ideas. Number 2, this Thursday on the 25th, we have Tassani Phoebe, the wife of Abuna Yusuf, right? What's his name? I think his name is Abuna Yusuf. I'm not sure. Or Abuna Bashoy. Yeah, it's not Phoebe. Or
Sony Phoebe. The Sony Phoebe is giving the talk on...
The Sony Phoebe.
Yeah.
And her husband's Abuna Bashoy.
She wrote a book.
Yeah, this Thursday.
She wrote a book.
Yeah, she wrote the book Putting Joy into Practice. It's one of the Philly books, and she's gonna come this Thursday at 7 o'clock, hopefully here, to give a talk about it. So it's open to everyone. You guys are more than welcome to come. There's gonna be food and activities planned that day as well. Last announcement: whitewater rafting will be August 11th now. We changed it from the 4th because
The 4th has playoff finals, Koibo finals. So we moved it the week after. But
It's not like
the
we're gonna
deadline.
make it, yeah, but
Yeah.
we like to encourage.
Yeah, we want to encourage.
You're really
Not with that attitude.
But the deadline is still this Sunday, the 21st. So if you want to sign up and you haven't signed up, the deadline is this Sunday. And I think that's it. Yes.
Can I go?
Of course you can.
Guys, also donations. Venmo $1. Remember, $1 each week. I know this week we returned. We actually